Hi, and welcome back to the channel for all of my subscribers out there. And welcome if you are a first time viewer to this channel. This sequence is a yoga flow for the lower back and really for the overall back body, and also will work into the hips. And we will treat it more as a yoga flow. So we will hold them a little bit longer than a vinyasa, but not quite as long as a yin. However, if you do want to hit pause and hold any of these poses for longer, or to stay in it longer for your body, by all means, that's what we are meant to do here, and to feel out your space to see where you need the most movement today. We're going to go ahead and get started right away and find a comfortable seat on our mats. So just come and take an easy seated position. At first, just feeling out the body and finding that nice evenness between the sit bones so that we're not tilting between right and left. And then with one leg crossed in front of the other, we'll just have the hands resting on top of the knees in a gentle resting position. If you feel like it, you can go ahead and close the eyes. And we'll just start to breathe softly. Normal breath today, no need to hold. Just taking a couple of moments here to settle and to find our space. Find yourself starting to perhaps release within the neck and the shoulders. Throughout class, we'll use the breath today so we can attempt to find more space throughout the back line of the body. Remind yourself to be gentle on yourself as we flow in and out of our practice today, especially when we're working through the low back. If you are a customer of chronic back pain, we want to take extra care. We're going to begin by coming into a butterfly pose. For your butterfly, I'm going to turn sideways. Extend the legs out just so that the soles of the feet start to touch. And then you can adjust how far out you take the feet depending on your comfort level. If you bring them in closer, it's going to be more of an intense stretch on the inner groin and thighs, a little further away, and you might find that you can fold a little bit more deeply into the hips and perhaps get more into the back. So feel out what works for you. Starting up nice and tall, and then we'll just start to bend forward. For this version of our butterfly, since we are working into the back, allow your back to round, and then once you reach a point where the head grows heavy, you can just allow the neck to be loose. Maybe close the eyes and allow the head to just drape down. The arms can come in between the legs. Maybe walk the hands out a little bit further in front of you. Depending on how low you are, if you have a bolster, this could be also a nice place to have a bolster lying straight down the midline, and you could even take a block on top of that and rest the forehead and the head so you can support the weight of the head. Now use the breath to allow yourself to open up through the back line, through the spine. Feel the breath traveling all the way down the back until it reaches the tailbone. Maybe feeling the expansion created throughout the hips. As we just relax to start our sequence today. Chronic back pain is often linked to stress. I know we hear that so often in our lives, that stress causes these physical and emotional ailments. It manifests itself in different ways in the body, and for some people that becomes lower back pain. Very slowly start to walk the hands in, bring the torso upright. Again, we're doing this all with care, especially if we are currently suffering from pain. Take an inhale, and from here we're going to bring the hands just behind the hips. Separate the feet till they're about hip width apart so that the soles of the feet plant onto the mat. And we're going to press firmly into the mat with our hands as we lift the hips, come into a reverse tabletop. You can keep the neck in a neutral position, but from here I want you to just keep the hips lifted, pressing through those hands, lifting into the glutes. Maybe feel the knees point slightly forward or shift slightly more forward so you feel a little greater stretch into the shoulders. And then we're going to release it back down. Come back into the butterfly shape, sitting nice and tall, and then we're going to take a nice gentle twist. So take the right hand to the outside of the left knee. Doesn't need to be very big here, looking past the left shoulder. On an inhale, we'll come through center and take that around to the right side. So the left hand to the outside of the right knee, and we're gazing behind the right shoulder. Return to center. Let's take that once more on each side, twisting over to the left. Maybe growing a little taller through the crown of the head, creating more space. With that space, maybe we twist slightly deeper. And then returning back through the center and then over towards the right. Remember to keep breathing in your twist. We don't want to hold our breath. Keep that breath flowing throughout class today. And then we'll come back to center. From center, we're going to take that reverse tabletop once more. Place the soles of the feet onto the mat, and the palms of the hands are down as we press and lift our hips at the same time, gazing up towards the ceiling. You can keep the neck neutral. Lift the hips, press the knees just slightly forward. Feel the whole back body engage as you do this reverse tabletop. And then lower the hips back down to the earth. Now we're going to come into a malasana pose or a yogi squat. So if you are comfortable in your yogi squat, you can separate the feet till they're just maybe slightly wider than the hips, and the toes are pointed at a diagonal, just about at the top two corners of the mat. Yogi squat can be rather difficult for those who have very tight hips or a tight lower back. So you could also take one block, maybe 2 blocks, and place them underneath your tailbone for a comfortable seated position. In this shape where you're supported, you may find you're able to release more and you are less likely to tense up. So whatever version works for you, we're going to come into our squat. Feel free to take a slight movement as we enter here. I think it's quite natural to shift from left to right just to kind of feel it out and to open up the hips. The elbows are pushing to the inside of the shins, hands are in prayer, and when you're able, you can go ahead and come into stillness. Take a deep breath. And on an exhale, you can either continue to stay in your yogi squat with your back nice and straight, or take the hands, walk them out in front of you, and allow yourself to round forward. Again, the head hangs heavy. This time we're getting an even greater curve into the lower back, feeling the stretch through the outside of the hips, even into the quads. Continue to breathe. Remember, our body is completely wrapped in fascia. The fascia is like this whole entire stocking basically that wraps around your muscles, your organs, your nerves, your joints and ligaments. It is throughout the body, all interconnected, this webbing. And as we get stressed, perhaps chronically stressed or sick, this webbing tightens. And this tightening from one part of the body can certainly lead to tightening into the next. Using yoga and also holding for longer can assist in releasing this tension throughout the fascia in the body. From your yogi squat, let's go ahead and push into the feet, lift the hips up. You can allow the head to hang heavy. We're going to come into a forward fold. And if you are dealing with lower back pain, I suggest keeping a very nice bend in the knees. Keep it very generous. You can have the fingertips touching the mat for stability. I do encourage you to keep more of the weight into the balls of the feet, just leaning slightly forward. Again, head is hanging heavy. And if you feel comfortable in your balance in your forward fold, maybe you can take the elbows and grasp them with the opposite hands. From here, maybe pulling onto the arms just slightly, causing just a little bit of traction into the lower back. And I bet you're feeling this into the hamstrings as well. That entire dorsal plane of the body, the back side, the dorsal plane of the fascia tends to be very thick, and it consists of the hamstrings and the erector spinae, and of course the very thick tissues that lead down into our Achilles tendons. So you can find it can often be very stubborn to release. But with practice, it is possible, and with making time in your yoga practice, you can find that you will release little by little, and things will give. From your forward fold, we're going to bend the knees, come back through Malasana, bringing the hands to prayer. And when you're ready, we're going to, without using the hands, just sit down back onto the mat. Go ahead and roll down onto the mat, coming onto your back. From this supine position, we're going to draw the left leg in into a wind release pose or a half wind release pose, leaving the right leg extended out long. We're just going to keep the hands, you can have them either on the top of the left shin or just to the inside of that left hamstring, and draw that left knee up using the weight of the arms just to give yourself, again, a gentle traction and some opening into that left hip. Now we're going to move on to nerve flossing on the left leg. From here, if your hands weren't already there, bring them just to the back of that left knee, not directly on the knee joint, but just below it, so you're more on the hamstring. And then keep that left leg drawn in, and from here we're going to start to straighten the left leg. Notice how my foot is flexed. I'm just keeping the big toe drawing towards my nose. And then allow yourself to release the left leg and bend the knee once more. So again, this is rather gentle. We don't want to force it or make this too difficult on the nerves. This can be really helpful for if you're struggling with sciatica. Again, flex the foot, straighten the leg. Doesn't need to be super straight. You can just maybe straighten the knee out slightly. If you feel any pinching or any extra tension, again, that's the point where you should stop and take it back. We'll take 3 more rounds of this. It can be very nice and slow, pushing through the heel, extending the left leg, and then bringing it back. On the last one, we're going to push through the heel, extend. You can keep the hands to the back side of that hamstring, or if you would like, you can take the outside of the left foot with the left hand, even wrap the 2 peace fingers around the big toe for a hand to big toe hold on the left side. The right hand, again, it can still hold the shin. You can have it on the back of the hamstring if that's comfortable, or if you want to make sure that that right hip is not rocking upward, just rest the right hand gently onto the top of the right hip point. And continue to breathe. Remember, a very straight leg is not entirely necessary here. You want to feel a stretch on the back side of the leg, and for a lot of us, we get that even with a slight bend in the knee. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, we're going to release and bend the knee, and then take the outside of that left foot with our left hand, draw that left knee in for a half happy baby pose. If you cannot catch the outside of the left foot with the left hand, you could use a strap, and you can also take the hand just to the shin and draw it down that way. If you're doing that, you may want to have the left hand on the outside of the leg. It's a little easier to hold on to the shin in that position, or just both hands again to the back of that left hamstring, but this time we would draw the left knee more to the outside towards the left armpit. And we'll hold our half happy baby for about 3 more breaths. Beautiful. We'll start to draw that right knee in so the sole of the foot is flat on the mat, and then you can bring the left foot across so that it comes on top of that right thigh. So we're in a reclined thread the needle or figure 4 pose. You can certainly stay right here with just the left foot crossed on top of the right and feel a nice stretch there. And then to intensify the posture, bring the left hand in between that space you created with the legs. Join the hands behind that right knee, and then start to draw the legs in towards the body. A very intense hip opener. Also, this is a really wonderful practice if you are suffering from sciatic or lower back pain. Really stretching out that connection between the hips and the low back. We get a very big pull between those 2 parts of the body. So if the hips are tight, they are going to grab onto the lower back and cause you pain. And pain that is prolonged and will not go away, of course, is chronic. And chronic pain, of course, will lead to suffering. Suffering both physically and mentally. So just know as you hold these poses and you feel yourself release through the back body, which again is very strong, very tight fascia, you could feel things arise emotionally as well. Just remember to take a deep breath and continue to work through it. It's important to keep this practice. Very slowly, let's Lower that right foot to the earth, and we're going to take a reclined twist. And we're all set up here with that left foot crossed over the right. We're just going to allow the knees to drop over towards the right side. And then from here, you can extend that left arm out long, either to a T shape, maybe to a cactus. And then the gaze can come behind you also to look at the left hand. On the next inhale, we're going to come back through center. This time, we'll extend the left leg out long, draw the right knee into chest for our half wind release pose on the right side. Again, the hands can come to the top of the shin or just behind the knee, whatever feels good. This time, the knee, instead of drawing more closer and to the outside of the right shoulder, it's drawing in more towards the midline. Just a good squeeze to awaken that outside of the right hip. I find in these supine postures and also in these postures that are really meant to get deeply into the hips and to the lower back, you can really feel where you're sending the breath. You feel it travel down the body and create space. And when you're ready, we're going to take that nerve flossing over towards the right side. So this time, we're going to extend the right leg. Keep a nice little bend in the knee because, again, right to left, you may feel very different. I can already tell I'm much tighter on my right side than I was on my left. And when you're ready, go ahead and try to straighten that leg out, pushing with the heel, drawing the big toe towards the nose, and then allowing the knee to bend and draw the leg back in. Extend it out straight, push, 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 only as straight as is comfortable. Remember, pausing, backing off if you feel any pinching or sharpness. We'll take 2 more of these extensions. And on this last one, we'll hold extended. Again, grab your strap if you need it to reach the foot. Otherwise, you can keep the hands on the outside of the shin, maybe peace fingers around that big toe. Or if it feels comfortable, you can also grab the outside of the right foot and start to draw that foot in, again, closer towards the nose. Really use the breath here. Keep pushing through that right heel so that you feel like you're trying to kick the ceiling through with your heel. Try to relax the upper body, relax the face, and also throughout the jaw. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Wonderful. And then again, we're going to bend into that right knee and come into our half happy baby pose, but now onto the right side. Again, if you need to make adjustments with the strap or the positioning of the right hand, feel free to do so. You can always take a hold of the back of this right hamstring to keep that right leg drawing in. This time, though, if you are using that hamstring position of the hands, keep the knee more to the outside of the right armpit. So we're looking for more of a angular position or opening. So we're deepening even further into the hips instead of just coming straight back towards the midline of the body. And then gently draw that left foot up so that the sole of the foot comes to the mat, and then the right ankle crosses over the left thigh. So now you're in your reclined figure four position with that right leg and the foot flexed, and then maybe staying right here, or if you want to take it up a notch, you're going to draw that left leg in and thread the arms through, interlace the fingers, and then start to draw those legs in closer towards the body. Using the weight of the arms, again, keeping the right foot flexed. It doesn't really matter what the left foot is doing a whole lot, but we're using that flexion of the right foot to help protect the knee joint. At the same time, maybe you're pushing into that right elbow just a little bit. It doesn't take a whole lot. Once you start to put that pressure to the inside of the right thigh with your right elbow, you're going to feel that outer hip flexor start to fire up. Maybe the hips are feeling a little bit more loose. The longer you hold it, allowing yourself to soften, even feeling a softness through the chest and the shoulders. The arms are working here by just being in this position, but they should not be active. They're more of a weight that is just holding you in this shape. When you're ready, we can release that left foot back to the mat, and we're going to come into our reclined twist on this side. So the right leg crossed over the left, but we just let both of the knees drop to the right side. You can adjust the hips if needed. The left hand can come to the outside of that right thigh, and then the right arm, whatever shape you want to take with the right arm. Maybe you drop the gaze to look over to the right hand. It's really important when you've been working on your lower back and doing a lot of active stretching. Again, it seems like we want to try to force things to happen so quickly in the body, but it does take time. So when you're doing forward folds, and perhaps they are quite deep, you want to neutralize those folds with a twist. Give the spine a little chance to recover. We'll unravel that twist and bring our spine back to neutral. Unwind the legs. Both the feet come to the mat. And from here, we'll extend the legs out long. We're going to take one more shape, and this is a banana pose. So we're going to lift the hips up just about an inch or two, and then shift them over towards the right. So you're going to feel now that our whole spine has kind of shifted out of the alignment because the hips are to the right, and then the feet and the head are just where they were before. So now we'll go ahead and take the feet and move them to it would be our top left corner of the mat. And you can have the feet either both side by side in this nice lateral stretch, or for more intensity, you can have the right foot stacked on top of the left. Just make sure when you do that, the right hip stays grounded. And from here, we're going to take the upper body and angle towards that back left corner of the mat. The left hand grasping the outside of the right wrist. And just go ahead and breathe. Taking a couple moments as we start to work towards the end of our lower back session. Allow the right hip to be heavy. And really feel that expansion created from the ribs all the way down through the outside of the right hip, the outside of the thigh, and all the way to that right ankle. When you're ready, we're going to move back through center. First by moving the torso and straightening out the spine, and then you're going to unwrap the ankles if they were folded across each other. And then let's just neutralize everything in the spine. Maybe pick the hips up slightly, lift up through the sit bones so that you feel like you are back in a very neutral and straight alignment throughout the spine. It's good to find that alignment before we move into the next posture. This time we're going to lift our hips up just slightly and bring them to the left, maybe 1 or 2 inches, and then point those feet towards the top right corner of the mat. So now they're on a diagonal. Again, if you want to try to cross that left ankle over the right, feel free to do so, but keep that left hip grounded. From here, let's take the torso and we're going to angle towards the back right corner of the mat. That already feels wonderful. Take the left wrist into the right hand for our lateral stretch in this banana pose over towards the right. Feel yourself start to relax and unwind. And when you're ready, we're going to release that left wrist. Start to straighten out the upper body. Release the legs. Again, bring them out so that they're nice and long. Lift the hips, maybe shift them from left to right. Keep everything in alignment. And then we're going to take a full wind release pose. So let's draw those knees in to the chest. Take a great big hug with our arms, wrap them around yourself. Maybe squeeze the knees and the shins so tight that you feel the tailbone start to lift up off the mat, and then slowly lower the tailbone so that it touches down. Do that once more. Squeeze, lifting the tailbone up off of the mat. Release the tailbone back down. One last time, we'll squeeze, lift the tailbone. Squeeze like we're just this ball of energy that wants to burst out. And then on the release, this time we'll let the feet go back down onto the mat. Extend the legs out long, and we'll open up into our Shavasana pose. Feet falling out to the side, and the hands can open up into a lovely V shape, just taking up space in the palms facing the sky. When you're ready, just close the eyes and we'll start to close out our practice for these last couple of minutes in just a peaceful breath. Enjoying any new sensations that we've created throughout the body. Any tingling or vibration or energy that we've created, especially through the hips, the low back. Feel these connections as they vibrate and reverberate throughout the course of your body from fingertips all the way to toes. When you are ready to come out of your Shavasana pose, let's point and flex the feet. Point and flex. Point and flex, activating the lower body. From here, let's make fists with the hands. Stretch the fingers out, widen the fingers as much as you can, and then make a fist, and then extend the fingers, and then make a fist. And when you're ready, let's draw the knees in. Using care, especially if we are dealing with current back pain, maybe rolling onto one side, and then pressing into the mat so that we can come up to our seated position. Coming into a nice easy seat with the legs crossed, one in front of the other. From here, we're going to sit tall, take a nice inhale, draw the hands up to the sky, palms touch as we draw them down through heart center with maybe a closing of the eyes, a gentle tuck of the chin. As we close our practice today, in gratitude for our bodies, in gratitude for each other for showing up today. As always, thank you for joining me on today's practice. I hope you found it helpful. And as always, please come back to this practice, hit pause, hold anything that you need to for a little bit longer. And please hit that subscribe button so that you always get notifications for our new practices every single Sunday here on this channel. Thanks, and always have a great day. Make it a good one. Bye.